Thank you for watching and listening. I want to share a story about the classmate who turns out to be a Satanist. And he was the one that did the most damage to myself and my family. And I only found out about it the 17 years after I graduated. So for that 17 years, my family and I went on to suffer, and my father eventually died. It's an Indonesian voodoo. Indonesian call it santet, and this is the first time I heard of that term last year. Unfortunately, as it turned out, that classmate is also part of the same cult as my stepmother, and they were helping each other out. I don't know how they do it, but it, the cult has existed for many generations. So I'm sure they pretty much figured out how to do things and how to target people, how to get away with it, and they have been getting away with it. So I was told that this Indonesian guy, back when I was in Nanyang Polytechnic, he was one of the few handlers in that class. I only know of two, himself and another Malay girl. So he was born into the cult. His family has been in it for many generations. Meanwhile, the Malay girl, she joined the cult by herself. So they become low vibrational either by a lot of abuse at home. That's how they initiate you into the cult. You have to be in the low vibrational state in order to join. If you're high vibrational, there's no need for you to join, right? So in order for that to happen, usually they do things to children. They abuse you, they harass you in any shape and form they can think of. That way, it's to create enough trauma and to open up your pathway to allow the negative energy to attach to you. So the rule of thumb is your vibration has to match, your frequency has to match. Then and only then can they attach themselves to you. There's all these negative entities and all that. They cannot attach if you're very high vibrational. That's the reason why fear is being indoctrinated into us, into our daily lives, our school system, so on and so forth, um, to keep you at a certain vibrations. So to keep you unaware of your true powers. You know who you are. You know, you have gotten away with it for so long. And the most upsetting thing was that it took me too long to find out, because most of the healers that I went to, not a single one of them mentioned him. So over time, I kind of like got distracted by other things in life until maybe a few years back was when I started having vivid dreams of him, and in those dreams, I was being pressured to marry him. So that's how I found out from the medium that he was trying to do a spirit marriage. So, spirit marriage is, I mean, we are all souls in a human body. When they do spirit marriage, it usually happens in a dream state. So, there's always a certain timing when people do this type of rituals. It's always preferably at night or during the witching hours, which is 3 to 5 a.m. Many reasons for that. One of the reasons is because most people are asleep, and when you're asleep, you're pretty much defenseless. If you do not have any protection prayer, if you don't have any protection around you in general. So what had happened was I never had a dream of this guy for the 15, 17 years. He was a very nasty, mean, horrible, one of those closeted racist people. You know what they're like, you know. They don't openly say they don't like you, but they treat you like they dislike you simply because of your race and gender. And he was one of those who's actually pretty smart in the sense that he was very nice to everyone, but he was never nice to me for no rhyme or reason, even though I wasn't near him. Because the first time I met him, the first word that came to my mind was dirty. Because that's the universe, my intuition, and trying to warn me about him. So I stayed away from him as much as possible. To be frank, I hated that I had to be in the same class as him. So that was my mistake. My mistake was I did not change school. I did not drop out from that school. That was the best solution. So he regularly will harass me from a distance. That's what they do. All these low vibrational people. When you are high vibrational, they cannot come close. So there's a reason why they will bully you from afar. They will name call you. They will make faces at you. They make you feel like you're hated and things like that. All is done to trigger you to be at the same vibrational state that they are. That way they can come closer. So he was doing his bullying and harassment, and then that Malay girl pretended to be a friend. I tell you this thing, they always approach you. I never approach either one of them. They always approach you. So that Malay girl, she approached me through the, oh, I'm so glad I met you. You're such a good person, you're such a good friend. And then I was bullied in school, so she tugged at your heartstrings, you know, to gain sympathy. And because if you're empathetic and without boundaries, you pity them. But her behavior was very cunning. She was passive aggressive. Back then, we were totally innocent and naive. We don't know what passive aggressive means. We don't know what guilt tripping means. We don't even know we're being abused. So that Malay girl used that, and her job, her task by the cult, is to keep me in a very anxious state because I had bad anxiety due to the abuse I faced at home as well as in schools. The teachers were pretty much abusive, especially the one in primary school. So you still high vibrational, but everybody has their weak spots here and there, and that was the case. So they both of them have their own jobs to do. So they were working together. I'm not too sure whether there are other cult members in the class, but I suspected there were more than once. There were more than them. It's just that I probably it takes too much energy to figure out who it was, and cost a lot of money as well. You keep paying for the readings by the mediums and all that. It costs money. So we were supposed to stop the stepmother earlier in life, like maybe in my 20s, 10 years ago. We were supposed to stop and find out who she was. But this Indonesian guy, this classmate, he just made everything worse. So because he couldn't get to me directly, he did a ritual santet to all my family members, except for the stepmother, because the stepmother and her first daughter, which is my eldest sister, they're both part of the cult. They're both low vibrational. So he was doing ritual on my father, my second sister, my brother, and I. And because we are emotionally connected, so when you see them being affected and the behavior change, my brother started acting out, which is totally out of character. And I still cannot forget, he was like pacing in the room, and he was like fidgeting and restless, because that's one of the signs of santet, one of the negative energy being attached to you. They were doing a ritual of him in their home at the altar, whatever. And it's just not one person. It's not this Indonesian guy by himself. The cult members, as well, the stepmother, as well as the stepmother's siblings and their wives, they were all performing their rituals wherever they are at, together at the same time. So I saw with my own eyes my brother in the room. His body was like that. And then he had fever and he like lie down and he kept asking me for help. Then I didn't know what to do because he thought it was just fever, right? So what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? And then we just tried to help him heal, like we normally would if somebody had fever. And then as it turned out, he wasn't having fever. They were performing the rituals, and the fever and the reason why he was pacing around was because they were removing his soul from his body, and the negative entity was going into his body. I cannot forgive that guy. I remember over time my brother eventually dropped out from school and then start mixing with bad crowds, and he wasn't like that. He was a nice, friendly kid. My second sister and I, we were crying, what happened to him and things like that. We didn't know. We were totally ignorant about all this Indonesian voodoo. In general, voodoo, black magic, we were purely ignorant. If I had known now, if I could turn back time, I would have definitely done something. And so sometimes there are things that the Western medicine cannot explain. You go to doctor, doctor will just diagnose you as, will diagnose it as fever, flu, food poisonings. These black magic rituals, spiritual attacks, they masquerade themselves as symptoms that that seems normal. Fever, stomach ache, stomach pains, headache, migraines. You take it as that, but it's totally opposite. So that classmate destroyed my brother, and my brother eventually turned against us, and that in turn caused us a lot of stress and depression, overall sadness. And then the stepmother was herself being abusive, lying and manipulation because she's part of the same cult, right? So eventually, my father just left the house. That was for his own safety and also for our own safety, but it didn't work. So the best solution is to leave. That's the best solution is to leave the whole place. We were ignorant. What do we know? In hindsight, I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? My brother lost his youth. I eventually lost my 20s and my 30s because over time I just kept getting so exhausted to a point when I was 20 or 21, I just simply couldn't get up. I was exhausted, mostly staring out at the distance. So because the Indonesian guy, he not only did destiny swap, he also did a dominance ritual spell. And the reason why all this work is because we didn't know how to cut the cord. We don't know how to cut the negative attachment. We were just ignorant. We were 100% ignorant. And it only got worse. So over time, at that point when I was in my 20s, when I was literally exhausted, half my eyes were half open most of the time. I couldn't work because I was too exhausted to even lift my finger up. That was how bad it was, and that was because that Indonesian guy drained me of my energy. He's the energy vampire, right? So he drained me of my energy for himself, so that he can appear as a very hardworking, talented guy, and he's not that. He's one of those students that parents usually tell you to stay away from. He always interrupt classes. He always interrupts the lesson, and he smokes, drinks, and parties. He's the type that corrupts people's children. So this is what these low vibrational people are. We were targeted because we were at that point still innocent and high vibrational. They have this thing where they want to drag you down. They want to punish you because they hate the fact that you are not like them. So That's the reason why all these gang members, all these rowdy people, low vibration or bad influences, the reason why they target usually children or people who are so-called innocent is because they have this satisfaction to them. They want to see you become like them. Misery loves company, apparently. And at that point, when I was in my early 20s, my second sister noticed, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You're changed." Blah, blah, blah. And then she tried to bring me to TCM, Chinese medicine. And we were struggling financially. We couldn't afford to go for several sessions. But even then, it still wasn't enough to give me back my energy. It can give me a bit of my energy back. And after some time, my second sister, like herself, was affected. So it's like too many people doing the rituals. It helps break our protection barrier, our spiritual protection barrier, and because of that, the other people that does the ritual have a easier time succeeding because you're already at a lower vibrational state. And my sister ended up marrying a man that she never wanted to marry, and she became very fearful and submissive to him. That every time I try to say something, she will be very defensive and try to defend him, even though she never wanted to marry him in the first place. And as it turned out, her husband also practices Javanese voodoo. Her husband and his family. So my sister was under a dominant spell, so that she obeys and listen to whatever he and his family says. And the reason why he succeeded was because of that Indonesian classmate. So apparently, he's a high level demon, or at least he has a high level demon attached to him. High level, my foot. They were helping each other out. So if that classmate hadn't done ritual on my family and I, my father wouldn't have died. My brother wouldn't have dropped out of school and mixed with a bad crowd. His life wouldn't have turned out the way it turns out. My second sister wouldn't have been a very submissive woman to her husband that she never even liked in the first place. I myself wouldn't have unnecessarily struggled. I think it's a life lesson, I can say, because most of the healers that we consulted never told us or were unable to tell us that this guy was the one that caused the whole family to go down. He was the one who helped the stepmother. So apparently his ranking is a bit higher in the cult. And back to that Malay classmate in Polytechnic, she joined the cult by herself. Medium told me that she practices it in her bedroom without her parents knowing because she comes from a Muslim household. So, and then she was the one where we were in Polytechnic. Oh, why don't you go and go to this Ustazah house and learn how to read the Quran and things like that. So she claimed that her father knew the local mufti, which is like a religious leader, a representative in Singapore. And she was telling stories about how her father's friends did Indonesian voodoo or Thai voodoo on each other. And then as it turned out, she was one of them. And her parents do not know. So this girl, she has all of the cult members in general. They have these very bad jealousy issues, all of them. So that's the reason why the people they targeted are not even aware of it. You don't have to know them for them to want to harm you. And I shared with a supernatural group pictures of the people I found that were targeted by the stepmother. um, more than likely they don't even know her. Or maybe you just happen to work in the same place as her, or she happen to knows your parents, or she just happened to hang out with the same group of aunties, things like that. And to digress a little bit, you don't have to be of the same age, same gender to be jealous, because jealousy makes no sense. There's no reason to, there's no logical explanation to jealousy. Because I do know of women in their 60s bullying and abusing women half their age, bullying teenagers, and teenagers bullying adults. It's all stemmed from jealousy, and jealousy doesn't make sense. Only the person who's jealous makes sense out of it. So that friend, that Malay girl in Polytechnic, she has this thing when she wants to be young. She has to be. She was. It's a one-person competition. You can say that. She has to be fairer than me and taller than me, skinnier than me, younger than me, even though she was older. I was only 17, and the people that were bullying and harassing me were in their 20s. Okay, both the Malay girl and the Indonesian guys, they were in their 20s, you know. And she of course did say, I mean, in hindsight, she already showed who she was. And back then, we were so naive and innocent, always want to forgive and believe in the good in people, trying to rationalize whatever they say. She demanded I give my password because she wanted to check through my emails, and she kept telling me that my hair is fake, and she was jealous that my body is the way it is, and she kept telling people that I had work done or I paid for it, things like that. And she was the one who tried to do the sacrifice ritual because I no longer wanted to be friends with her in my 20s. I just cut her off because in my 20s, she called me. We hardly keep in touch, but she randomly called me and then started saying that her boyfriend dumped her to the guy who dated her for 5 years. You escaped. You really escaped because that girl is a pure psycho. And then suddenly she started screaming and shouting at me after I asked her, "Oh yeah, what happened?" She started screaming and shouting at me, and I was like, "Okay, I had enough. I tolerate your behavior for many years. I'm not here. I'm not the one who dumped you. I don't even know who your boyfriend is. I was just asking out of concern because you were the one who called me to rent, right?" So I said, "Don't call this number anymore. I think you're fake and all that." And then, she pretended to apologize, but then I just end the call. My nose kept getting itchy every time I tried to talk about the cult and all that. Previously, I my throat chakra was blocked, so every time I try to talk about the cult and whatnot, it takes me several videos to be able to speak because I keep just not being able to say anything. Or there's a lot of interruption, things like that. So I found out from the medium that because I didn't want to be friends with her anymore, she decided to do a ritual on me. She had been trying to sacrifice me in order for her to achieve a certain level of wealth. Mind you, these people come from a well-off background, but their greediness is something that you cannot explain. It's like it's never enough for them. They have everything, but it's never enough. So that's when, within the past few years, I suddenly had this. Midnight. It's usually around midnight. I could feel a rope around my neck, even though there's nothing. It's like an energetic. You can feel you're being choked. You try to pray, you try to fight it off because it's everything is mind over matter. I'm telling you this. It's all about mind over matter. If your mind is very strong, nothing can touch you. You can even heal your body. To be honest. So the medium told me that that friend, that Malay girl from Polytechnic, she's a Satanist and she does rituals in her bedroom and she learns it through the internet because this is how you connect. When you're low vibrational, you will go and find, let's say you have interest in baking, of course you go to YouTube and the internet to look for baking and baking related things. but she has interest in satanism and rituals, so she goes to internet to learn and she joined the cult. You don't have to you don't have to have anything special, just have to be low vibrational. And because it's a demonic thing that they worship, they call upon the demonic god and whatnot, and promise certain people to this demonic entity. And apparently the devil collects as long as you offer them what you claim to be able to offer. In this case, myself and my family members and other high vibrational people, other innocent people, the devil will give you what you prayed for. So the reason why she kept doing all the rituals over the years, because she made a pact with the devil, and she was unable to meet the promise, and she was putting more extra effort. And that's the reason why I felt very exhausted all of a sudden, and why at certain timing of the night I felt a rope around my neck. It's just an energetic thing. The thing about rituals in general, they use things that are symbolism. So they have your pictures, your names, and they must have taken something from you, because I was acquainted with her. She must have taken something from me in order to have a connection, and paid for voodoo dolls and things. So you can learn this online, and you can even pay for it. You can pay for it over Carousel, over Etsy. You can find it on any platform. If you're low vibrational enough, you will put in effort to go down that path to find it, because your energy match, your frequency match. So the 17 years it took that long to find out. And I was thinking to myself, it makes sense now why I have like this. I felt like you're energetically being tied to somebody. And I have this hatred for him. Usually I was quick to detach. I couldn't care less about this guy. Who cares? So what if he bullied me and harassed me? Big deal. Just detach and let go. I was good at that. So for some reason I wasn't able to shake his energy off. So that was my body trying to tell me that this guy is the one behind it. But unfortunately, sheer ignorance, we're not able to find out the whole truth soon enough. So don't think that black magic, spiritual attacks are not real. It's real, and it's done by anyone and everyone. As long as they are low vibrational, they will go down the path of finding them. And now it's even much more worse, much more accessible, because you just can go online to find it. You can learn it from the internet. You can find people on the internet who provide such services. So cleanse your energy, protect your energy. You can do protection spell for yourself and for your family as well. It's as simple as just imagining yourself in a bubble for protection, repelling all negative energy. That's all. And you can do that. You can envision your family members. You can even do prayers for them. Just pray to the universe or to God, whichever your belief systems are. Is just do that. Imagine yourself in a white bubble and just say thank you, universe, for releasing all negative energy in and around me. Thank you for removing all energy cords that doesn't serve my highest good. And then you can do the same prayer for your family as well. You can say thank you, universe, for protecting so and so. Thank you for releasing all negative energy in and around so and so. Thank you for removing all negative energy cords in the energetic field. That's all. And you can do the same thing for your home as well. Thank you, for universe, for protecting my home. Thank you for releasing all negative energy in and around my home. Thank you for removing all negative energetic cord. Thank you. That's it. And you do the prayers before you sleep as well, because they usually do these rituals at early hours in the morning, from midnight onwards, and sometimes from 11:30 p.m. onwards. Mostly during the time where people are asleep, where the sun is not out, is the best timing apparently. when your defense is low. So you can call upon high vibrational angels, high vibrational energies to protect yourself and your family. And when you do this prayer, your family members do not have to be in the same place or even in the same country as you. And at the same time, that's how these negative people are able to do the rituals to you. I'm not even in the same country as this Indonesian guy. He moved back to his country apparently. So, and he was still able to attack. The reason is because our protection barrier has broken. And they will do the same thing. They cause a lot of financial issues, health issues. They keep attacking you. So you can also do a protection for your finances, for your health, and your businesses, your education, whatever. Okay, and then watch them. Usually get anxious. Sometimes they will call you. Sometimes they will try to keep in touch with you. Randomly try to message you because I had friends who were from the cult. That I found out the secondary school friends who were from the cult randomly messaging me, and the cousin who was part, the male cousin who took part in the rituals, uh, also randomly called me and never talked for many years. I would say more than 15 years. Okay, and he randomly called and said, "Oh, I want to ask how are you." He never did that until you do a cutting and return to sender. Okay, because these people cannot handle a few minutes of what they put you through. They cannot handle, and it's also good for you to learn to detach and to be empathetic with boundaries. Be- It's not all love and light. Okay, that's very toxic. You can forgive. You can forgive, but that doesn't mean we can allow them to do the same thing or allow them to do it to other people. So protect yourself first, and then your family and your home, the closest to you. And when you do this prayer, you can do it to for them, even they are overseas or wherever they are at. All right, and teach this to your children at the same time, because like I mentioned in my other post, other videos, that these people they taught their children how to do the rituals from kindergarten, from toddler's age. So the male cousin that called me, he had been doing the rituals on my brother since he was in lower primary school or even before that, because his mom and father, uncle and his wife had taught him how to do it. So it can be anyone and everyone. Low vibrational means low vibrational. Okay, so that's it. Imagine yourself in a bubble, or you can imagine yourself being surrounded by fire. So whatever it is can just burn off whatever. It's all just energy work. Okay, initially some of us it's a bit it takes a lot of adjustment because we have never done this before, we're not used to it, or we are more to visual learners. So you can use any app, paint app, what app, whatever it is. Just draw a circle and put your name in it, your family name in it, and then look at it every day. So it helps you visualize the protection. So remember another thing, evil comes in all form, all ages, all races, all religions, all nationalities, all economic backgrounds. They know how to disguise themselves in order to get away with it. Okay? Thank you for watching and listening.